Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome in again to another edition of the Voice of Camp Nathaniel, and I am Stephen Bell, and with me, at least for the first few episodes anyway, I don't know how long it's going to be just me and you, but as of right now, it's me and you, and who is you?
This is Lee Sharp.
Good to see you, man. How are you?
Doing good.
That's good. You know, we get to come in here twice a month, and we get to have some fun and really just kind of talk about what's going on at the mission, talk about some in-depth studies from God's Word. It's been good. It's been really good so far. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, and we're mixing into the mission today by bringing in a guest.
We are. You know, one of the things that we thought would be really, really beneficial would be for everybody who listens to the podcast that you would be able to get to know a little bit of the mission members, because maybe you're here on campus, maybe you see them out and about, maybe you've talked to them in person from time to time, maybe you see them out in the community, or maybe you're really far from here and you want to know who's at the mission, because the truth is, Lee, even you and I are brand new members to the mission.
It's very true.
You know, we've only been here for like a year.
Yeah, and the mission's been here for, this is the 91st year.
1932 is how long the mission's been around. So we are approaching 100 years, and, you know, staff changes quite often. None of us really have lived that long. But the thing about it is, just in the past 5 years alone, the amount of new people that have come into camp has been just crazy. I mean, we're right now at a full-time staff of almost like 30 people. So we figured, you know what would be a really, really good idea? Let's get to know some of our mission members. Maybe about every 3 months, we throw in an interview with one of our mission members, and we're doing that for the first time today.
I say that's why we've got an extra guy at the table here.
That is. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are listening anyway, man, we're happy to have somebody who has become a good friend. I almost said decent, but I'm gonna keep that at good, man, because I believe that. Lee, who's in the studio with us?
We have William Gilbert.
William Gilbert, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Oh man,
I'm also new at camp.
You're
all three of us are new.
We're all new. You're newer than we are.
I'm a month after you, and Lee's a month after me.
So in this room right now, as we're starting this, all of us in this room have been here just over a year.
That's correct.
Wow.
I don't know.
And they're giving us free reign.
And you have me going on first.
I know. What's going on, man? This is crazy.
This is to help build confidence in us, clearly.
Is that what it is? Okay.
We just get the new guys in there and we see what they...
Let's put the new guys behind some microphones, let them have free reign to a worldwide audience and see what happens. I don't know if that's the best idea or not, but hey, I appreciate the confidence they have in us.
They really do.
They do, don't they? So far, so good.
So far, yeah, no.
William, no pressure.
We'll see how long that lasts.
Hey, so I'm gonna Lee's got some question for us to kind of guide our conversation. So let's throw it over to him.
So we'll jump in here originally, William. So where are you from originally?
I'm from a small town about 35 miles west of Chicago.
From Chicago.
Yeah, from Chicago.
From a town west of Chicago.
West of Chicago.
That's like saying, well, do you know where Emelina is? Well, you know where Hazard is,
right.
Or you know where Pikeville is, you know.
If you know where Wheaton or Naperville is,
there you go.
That's about the area I'm from.
So, and I know this about William because I've gotten to travel with him a lot here in the past year or so. So I know that he's a big sports fan.
I am.
And Chicago is not hurting in regards to their number of sports teams that they have.
That's true.
So, but
I mean, I do like Chicago sports, but not all of them.
I heard he likes the Cubs.
No, do not like the Cubs. That's the one team in Chicago I do not like at all.
I had to bring that up because I know he can't stand the Cubs.
We're trying to bring people together on this podcast.
We are? Okay, well.
now we're talking about sports teams. Okay, now we're just going to start.
So from Chicago, so we've got a lot to talk about here in a little bit as to how you came here and you know, what not aside from, but in kind of detail how the sovereignty of God brought you here. But I think we're starting with let's find out how you came to Christ from the get go.
What's the salvation question?
Salvation question. All right, so I was raised in a Catholic home. I'm the 9th youngest of 10 children. I have a twin brother who's number 10, and basically grew up, you know, we were a very faithful Catholic family, but on Sundays, but Monday through Saturday we were not what you would consider a faithful Catholic family.
Got you.
I mean, we all believe, and most of my brothers and sisters still believe, but they don't. It really wasn't a obedience thing. Growing up, I wasn't sure what I believed. I wrestled with it for a long time. But then when I was maybe 16, 17 years old, I was a little younger actually then. I met these two brothers. They started inviting me to go to their church, mostly to play basketball and go to their youth group. And it was the first time I really was introduced to the idea of salvation or grace or, true hope in Jesus. It was more, you hope that you get into heaven, that maybe when you catch God on a good day when you die, or your good works outweigh your bad works. And, it was based on that. It had nothing to do with Jesus as much as it had to do with me. And so at this church, I was introduced to the idea that it had to do with Jesus. And for many years that I wrestled with it, I thought that didn't make sense. It didn't really click. But then I went on a retreat in D.C. in 1991 and got introduced to some new ideas with it. Not new ideas, but just things I hadn't heard before, and witnessed a video by Michael W. Smith, and it rocked my world. And on the way home on July 31st, 1991 at 2:30 a.m. at a gas station in Ohio, I got saved.
That's awesome.
I think it's Ohio. Is Ohio? I always get confused. Is Ohio or Iowa between us and D.C.?
Well, it's actually north of us.
Well, I'm sorry, sorry, not between us, but between Illinois.
Between Chicago and
Between
D.C.
Chicago
That's
and DC.
Ohio. That's Ohio.
So it is Ohio. Okay,
Yeah, there you
for
go.
some reason I always think it's Iowa, but it is Ohio. So at 2:30
Iowa's
a.m.
in that part of the land that no one ever goes to.
Yeah.
No, I'm just
So I was on
Just
the
kidding. We love you, Ohio.
We love you. We love you. Did I say Ohio or Idaho?
We love both of you.
No,
love
Idaho?
both.
You were talking about Iowa. I'm on the other end of the United States right
Yeah,
now. All right.
yeah.
Never mind. Let's
That's
keep
okay.
going.
So I was on a bus driving home, talking to one of those two friends who happened to be with me, and he couldn't answer my questions. I've always been a deep thinker.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has to make sense logically to me, and he could not figure out how to answer my questions. We were on a bus with like 40 kids, some from our church, some from other churches, and it was 2:30 in the morning, and he didn't know how to answer my questions. And so we stopped at a gas station and to get gas, obviously, and he runs and tells the youth pastor that he needed to talk to this guy. I don't know what he's asking, and I don't remember what he said. It just started making sense.
Yeah.
And it was actually at a gas station, concretes, one of those blocks that they put by the gas station, the tank, so the semis don't run into the gas tank. And I just literally was leaning on it and prayed to receive Christ. And
And you were how old?
18,
18 years old.
just
man.
graduated from high school.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
That is amazing.
yeah. It was a month after I graduated. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and then I mean a lot of people can't pinpoint the day and the day.
Yeah,
But certainly can't pinpoint the time.
yeah. I know the
but
exact
knowing
time, and
that's awesome.
yeah. I mean,
That's really cool.
I had prayed to receive Christ twice before.
Yeah.
But truthfully, I didn't really know what it meant, and it really had no change in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And really the first time was because one of those two friends asked me
Yep.
if I ever did, and I didn't want to lose the friendship, so I just prayed with him. And really it didn't mean nothing. He thought I was saved, but it was no change. So, I mean, it may have been salvation then, but I truly don't believe so, because I really believe it was that day on July 31st.
Awesome. Good deal. And now you're not 18 anymore.
No, I'm not.
Am I wrong there?
Sometimes I act like I'm 18, but I'm not.
So no longer 18. You've been saved for a good while now.
32 years.
32 years, man.
32
Wow.
years in July.
Wow, that's awesome. Lee, where are we going from here?
I know. So now we got the next big question. Now that we've got the salvation question out of the way.
Wait a minute. What Michael W. Smith thing were you listening? What,
Secret Ambition.
I remember that song.
There was a very graphic. I just remember sitting there watching this, and it was a very graphic depiction of what Jesus literally went through.
Yeah.
And I started remembering. I started thinking about it, thinking like how if this is truly what Jesus went through, and this is truly what Christians claim he went through, how can Christians who say they believe this not literally follow this and believe it to the core? And at first I was like, I don't think I can. And so that's when some of the questions I was asking my friend in the bus, like, I don't see Christians living for Christ the way Christ lived for me.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of those questions started coming out, and he didn't know how to answer them. Which, Which honestly, I don't know if I could either.
Yeah.
But, So.
All right. Sorry. Michael W. Smith got me off track there for a second.
And those questions are good
Michael
things.
Smith, yeah.
Throwing out to the listeners there, Jesus will meet you at 2:30 in the morning at a gas
right,
station.
That's
And
right.
he is most definitely not afraid of your questions. So
Touche.
just a small little plug there.
All right. Sorry to interrupt you. I just figured that might be about to add that in there.
We're up near Chicago. You're living up there for a good long time. How'd you end up here? That's the other question, because Camp Nathaniel
is not Chicago.
Is not Chicago. It is a good little drive down here. And after you get out of the flatlands and the rolling hills, then you go into the mountain like you got to trek through some places. So the question is how did you get here?
Well, it's actually a really good question. And I mean, even what Stephen said, it is not just, I mean, obviously it's the sovereignty of God, but it's an interesting story of how it even worked. Even when I got saved, I always had just instant desire to know the Word and study the Word, meditate on the Word, preach the gospel. In fact, after 6 months of getting saved, I had the opportunity of leading somebody to Christ, and I didn't even know what I was doing. And I was with a guy who was raised in the church, and he didn't know how to do it, so I kind of had to do it. So it was, so I got thrown right into it, and I'm very happy about it. But and I don't know how many years, maybe 16 years ago, I happened to be unemployed, and there was some family friends at my home church that wanted to go. They were homeschooling their kids, and they wanted to go on a homeschool. They wanted to go on a missions trip as a family, and I was mentoring and discipling one of their oldest son, and they were like, "Hey, why don't you come with?" And it was like a last minute thing, like 2 days before, and I was like, well, I'm unemployed. I got nothing else to do.
I suddenly find a free day in my schedule.
I'm getting paid unemployment at the time, so why not? And so I went, and I instantly fell in love with the mission. And
so where did they take you to?
Oh, take us to Camp Nathaniel.
All right.
Sorry. I probably should have said that. That's a good point.
I was like, they could have been taking a mission trip anyway.
We actually went to the Ark first.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't have the Ark then. It was just the Creation Museum then. But we went there first, and then we came down, and it actually worked out really well with that because I knew somebody who could get us free tickets into the Creation Museum, so we all got in for free. But so I was here for a couple of days and really fell in love with what Camp Nathaniel does and what we do, and I remember sitting up just outside by the people listening may not know where this is, but I had AT&T service, and you really don't get AT&T service very well here.
Really?
Really, really. So I found one spot where I got a half a bar, and I had to make a quick call, and I got on the phone, and it was over by the pool up on the hill, and I just remember, I may start crying, but I just remember praying and just looking at the mountains and going, gosh, Lord, I would love to live here. Mm-hmm. I would love to serve here. But I was like, Lord, I don't know if it's your will. And I said, but if it's not your will, maybe you could change it. Who would know?
And this is when you came the first time, right?
First time.
Yeah, okay.
First time I was here. It was like 4 days in or something.
Yeah.
And I came a year later to Outdoor Ed again. And at the time I pursued it, but there was a lot of things I was dealing with back home, and it didn't work out. Mm-hmm. And it didn't happen. And so
and did you say when this was, what year this was?
Well, it had to be about 16 years ago, so I don't remember the exact year for sure, but
okay.
We're in 2023, so
07, 08,
maybe
somewhere
07,
through there?
08, yep. Yeah. I don't remember exactly. And so I basically just kind of gave up on it. I was like, well, it's not going to happen. But what I was going to say is even from when I got saved, I always considered myself in full-time ministry, whatever I did. Mm-hmm. Never went to college, but I always thought my job is my mission field. I'm going to be a missionary wherever I am. I worked at grocery stores, management stuff, and I always was trying to witness to people. Mm-hmm. And almost lost my job, in fact, a couple times because my bosses threatened to fire me, and I'm like, go ahead, fire me. I'm not stopping.
Yeah.
So then fast forward, I kept coming back for different missions trips down here and doing other missions trips all around the United States. And then I came back here 3 years ago on a missions trip and to do some work at one of the local churches in the area, and met the new mission director, Josh, and connected, and we had like this long 45-minute conversation, but it's kind of funny. The whole thing is actually kind of funny because we were just talking about discipleship and what he did to disciple, what I did to disciple, and but in the back of my mind, I was thinking, because Rick Franklin had told him that I wanted to talk to him,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought he had mentioned that I wanted to join the mission because I really was thinking about it again when I came back, but he never brought it up. And through this whole conversation, I'm like thinking, is he going to ask me about the mission? Is this how they interview down here? I don't know what's going on here. And then at the very end of the conversation, I just said, can I ask you a question to Josh? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, I really enjoyed our conversation, but I really thought we were going to talk about me joining the mission. And he's like, wait, you want to join the mission? I had no idea. And then we had a good laugh about Rick Franklin, who introduced us to us, because we both thought that we both knew, but neither one no clue. And so
we also love you, Rick.
Yeah, we do love you, Rick. I love Rick Franklin dearly.
And we love Ohio and Illinois.
Yes.
And Idaho and Iowa and all those other ones that I mentioned earlier.
Kentucky, too. We love Kentucky, too.
Yeah.
So then the process started. I applied in November of, I think it was 21, and got accepted in 22 and started raising support in July and was fully funded by October.
Yep.
And then God sold my house, and I came down February of 22.
Nice.
I couldn't be happier. Well, I shouldn't say that. I could be happier. I don't know, but
so far so good.
I love it here. I'm just very happy that God allowed me to come.
Well, hey, we've got probably about 5 more minutes here. Let's hit on a few more things before we wrap it up here in just a little bit.
So I was going to ask what God has given you a heart for, but you've kind of answered some of that there with discipleship. Anything else you want to throw into that?
Well, I mean,
or maybe what are you excited about here at the mission? Throw some of that in there too.
Well, truthfully, ever since I can remember, I've had a passion for young people. Mm-hmm. I can connect with young people really well. I love to disciple young people. I especially love it when they come to realize something that they learned that maybe they don't even know that I helped them along, and they just realize it, and I just kind of smile because I just think it's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I just love helping young men become fully committed followers of Jesus. I've always, mostly high school, some middle school, and really technically any age under high school, even college.
Yeah.
But God's given me real passion for it. But lately, as I've gotten older, though, I really feel God's even given me a passion for adults as well, for men who maybe aren't discipling their youth. And so we just recently kind of started a new ministry, I'm helping start a new ministry here that'll center around men's ministry, helping men to become disciple makers for their home, including this type of stuff that you're doing, Stephen, with Nonstop Families, kind of thing like that, but directly just at men.
Yeah, so, and I mean that's something I'm excited about, man. I really am. I'm excited to see how that comes to fruition, and we're gonna be talking about that more. We're actually gonna talk about that more in a later episode that we're gonna have you back for and go into more detail as far as that goes.
Because we've got some events coming up, but we'll save that for later on. There, we got some men's events coming up. Other question that I want to throw out here, and this is more on the. Because it's 2 questions, but you can tie them together of all these things. So however you want to wrap them together. But this is something that I'm going to try to make sure that we are asking all of our different missionaries and whatnot, is that what book of the Bible have you been reading recently? And then the tie-in question with that is, what has God been teaching you recently?
Well, so I jump around a lot when I read the Bible. I do try to read through a book or whatever, but like right now I'm reading through Joshua. I'm just kind of reading through Joshua because I like the history of it. But
yeah,
with some of the stuff in my ministry I'm doing, I'm also I'm going to be teaching a thing about Gideon. So I've been really studying on Gideon and how Gideon had no choice but to trust God when God brought it down to 300 men against the Midianite army and whatever the other two armies are. I don't remember their names. And they were way, way outnumbered. And the only way you can get through that is to trust God. And I've had some situations in my life where I've had no choice but to trust God. And we don't have time to talk about that right now, but not only that, I've also been studying through 1 Peter a lot, and I just love the idea that Christ is our living hope. So like, when I first began talking about my struggles at the Catholic Church, there was no assurance. You know, you hope, it was kind of like you hope it doesn't rain tomorrow. You hope, Christmas you get the present you want, but there was no assurance of that. And my salvation was the same way. There was no hope. It was the way they put it was, the hope was that you, like I said, you caught God on a good day, or that that your good deeds outweighed your bad deeds. And that was your hope. And so when I got saved, I would hear this word hope over and over again. And I would argue with people. I said, no, that's not the right word. We got to come up with a different word because it doesn't make sense. Because hope is an assurance. But it took me many years as a Christian to wrestle through it, and then to come across 1 Peter, that the reason our hope is assurance is because our hope is in a living hope. Our hope is alive. It's Christ. He's alive. The hope that I had before was in myself and not in God. And so I've had the opportunity to teach on it a few times lately, and I just can't stop thinking about it recently. It's just been on my mind. I keep going back to reading it, and just because even in the beginning of that passage, it talks about that we have an inheritance that is undefiled, unfading, and there's another word, unword in there. I can't remember the word off the top of my head, but the inheritance is a guarantee. Yeah. Unlike the inheritance that I thought I would have had if I, like I said, maybe did something to make God happy, when reality is I couldn't, in that sense.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, man. As far as I'm concerned, and I think I speak for a lot of people here, and man, we're very thankful to God for bringing you here, and we're excited to see what He's going to do through you. It's just exciting. It's so exciting to see how from all over the nation, God is bringing people from so many different walks of life to here in Southeast Kentucky to make an impact for the gospel in the lives of so many people. And so, yeah, man, we're gonna kind of call this one a wrap. William, thanks for sitting in with us, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, indeed. So stick around. We got more to talk about here in just a second about some goings-on at camp, do we not?
We do.
Yeah.
Lots of activities.
So much stuff, man. All right, William, thanks again.
All right, now we've entered this part of the program now where we're going to be talking about some different ministries and events that are happening here at Camp Nathaniel, and we have got a big one coming up with the Women's Retreat.
Yeah, man, it's going to be huge.
It is, even bigger than it has in the past, because now we're getting into, like, it's like I think it's a Friday and a Saturday.
Uncharted territory.
Uncharted territory. And so we have brought a guest in to talk about this.
We have, and someone who knows way more about this than we do.
I hope so.
Abby Stanley has joined us, everybody, to talk about our women's retreat coming up in right at a month. All right.
Yeah, we're very excited. This is very new to us at camp, so we've never done anything that had women overnight at camp before. So we're very excited. This has been years in the making. And a lot of prayer behind this one. So.
Yeah, it's oh man, we're excited. It's really, really cool to see kind of where this ministry has come and where it's going. God is greatly blessing it. So Lee, what questions do we have for Abby?
So we'll jump in here. I know that it's somewhat new, uncharted territory, but if as our listeners are listening in and all that sort of stuff, they're like, well, what does that even look like? What does it mean to come to a women's retreat at Camp Nathaniel? Like, are you coming to, what happens?
So, well, it's kind of like a lot of the retreats we do at camp. We will invite everybody over on Friday night and come and register, eat dinner together. All the good food that you expect at Camp Nathaniel, we're going to enjoy together. we'll have some activities geared toward women. So not as much the 9 Square and the Gaga pit, but
I want to see all the women in the Gaga pit. That's what I want to see.
we talked about that for just a minute, and then we stopped.
But this is going on April the 14th and 15th,
14th
correct?
and 15th. So
Awesome.
Saturday is going to be an all day. We'll have our speaker is Celia Jimenez, somebody that anybody familiar with camp would probably recognize her name. She's been on campus an awful lot.
She'll do a great job.
Yeah.
She really will.
Yeah, we're excited. And our theme is rooted, the gospel in the everyday. And that's part of why we ended up with Celia, is just her passion for how the gospel changes who we are and how it impacts the way we live. Just in the normal everyday activities, is her passion for that is so strong that she came to the forefront of our minds.
You know, we can get lost in what seems like the mundane quite a bit, you know. And
Everyday life is,
and yet God gets great glory even in the mundane things of our lives. And that's great. I'm excited about that.
we've got this. I'm trying to think now.
Come on. They're going to have to register. They can't just show up for this thing.
Absolutely.
So it does require a little bit of organization.
Yes. So if you need to register, if you'd like to come, you have to register. To register, you go to our website, ORG.
Come on. Come on. You got it. Let's
It's
go.
ORG. It's not .com. ORG. Go on there, and on the adults tab, you go down and you've got the women's ministry, and there's a registration button right there. Fill in all of the information, and we will be prepared to have a wonderful time. I'm very excited.
Oh, it's going to be great. We're talking, times of worship. You got breakout sessions, I think,
Yes,
are
we
happening
do.
as well.
So exciting.
Man, it's going to be an absolutely awesome time.
to add a little bit of pressure to the people that are registering.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is going to be a very popular event, and
Yes.
though camp does have a lot of places to stay, it's going to fill up quick.
It'll be very fast.
So I'm telling you right now, if you're driving, I don't know, pull off to the side of the road and like start registering register right now.
Yeah, don't wait another second.
All right. And speaking of registration, is there a fee going on with all that?
Yes, there is a fee.
Gotcha.
You've got to have some kind of limit there.
Yeah.
You'll see it all on the registration, exactly the amounts.
Gotcha.
We do have some great housing on campus, I will say that.
We really do.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hey, let me encourage you, if you're listening to this and you're maybe a local pastor or even you attend you attend a local church, this is a great opportunity for you. If you're a member of a local church, let your pastor know about what's going on. Let your start talking to some women around your church and load up the church van. Just plan on bringing everybody. It's going to be an absolutely awesome time. Just make sure you every individual you don't register as a group.
Right.
You got to register individually.
Each person.
So you get everybody, you get all the women in your church together and say, hey, let's pack up, let's head out to Camp Nathaniel for and spend the night, and let's grow in our walk with Christ. But make sure each person registers individually. And if you're a pastor, this is something that as a pastor myself, I would want the women of our church to know about, because when you have something like this happening so close to home that you don't have to drive hours away for a retreat, and you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars to go down to Gatlinburg for a retreat. As good as those things are, as fine as that is, but this is something right in our backyard that we can take advantage of. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. Abby, anything else to add?
I know.
Well,
You've got the speaker coming in. Is there any other things that y'all are breaking out and doing while we're here?
yes, we're having a few breakout sessions, which I'm super excited about. These are sessions happening at the same time, and you look over the menu of what you want to listen to and choose. So they're all based on our verse that we've chosen as our theme verse, which is from Jeremiah. And it talks about things like anxiety. So we're going to talk about anxiety and how the gospel impacts that. We have marriage and how the gospel impacts the view of marriage that God has for us. We have one that's talking about suffering when we don't sense God's presence. Just all of those things that we all feel from time to time. We're going to address those and how the gospel talks to us in those times.
And it's really cool because God has really brought women together who are going to lead these breakout sessions that have like personal experience in all of these areas that can, they're not just speaking from someone who has studied about this subject and then and then communicating this to you, they're speaking from experience and how the Holy Spirit has brought them, walked with them through these things.
Absolutely. And that's why we picked the topics, partly because the scripture talks about them, and partly because we were thinking of people as we were planning. Their names came to our mind, and we said, oh, she could speak into this, and let's have her talk about that. So we know they'll be experts.
Fantastic. So remind us again how to register and dates. Lee, anything else we need to be reminded of at the moment?
I think we've got,
before we get ready to close out here.
I think we've got most of the who, what, when, where, whys. So
Right.
All right,
get
Abby.
that registration one more time.
Yes, the dates are April 14 and 15. That's a Friday and a Saturday. And you go online, campnathaniel.org, and go down to the registration on adults, women, register.
Awesome.
Hope to see you soon.
Good deal. Guys, thanks as always for joining us in for the Voice of Camp Nathaniel. I hope you guys have had a great time listening in. I know I've enjoyed it.
It is a ton of fun.
It is fun, isn't it?
It really is.
It really is.
Again, I gotta push it here to make sure that you're sharing with your friends, letting them know, especially right now, at least this episode here with other women, because there's an event. It's coming up.
That's right.
Get the word out.
Do us a favor. Hop on social media, push that share button, all that good stuff, and help us make sure everybody knows about what's going on at camp. Abby, thank you so much for filling us in on everything.
Welcome.
Guys, we'll see you in a few weeks, I guess.
See ya.